Today is July the 15th. Aren't the pastors supposed to do the ministry? Let's find out together as we read Acts chapter 6. Yesterday we saw one type of attack from within when two believers, a man and wife, chose to attempt to deceive the apostles. Today we see another sort of attack from within. In chapter 6, verse 1, as the believers rapidly multiplied, there were rumblings of discontent. The Greek-speaking believers complained about the Hebrew-speaking believers, saying that their widows, the Hellenistic widows, were being discriminated against in the daily distribution of food. Now, the complaint is never questioned. Apparently, the complaint was accurate. We wonder why. Well, it's fairly easy to see why. I don't think it was an issue of discrimination for lack of a desire to serve the Hellenistic widows. I think it was a communication issue. It may have been that because of an inability to communicate, the Greek-speaking widows didn't speak up and didn't receive food. It may also be that the Hebrew disciples simply knew of the Hebrew widows and were unaware of the growing number of Greek-speaking widows that were a part of the church. The issue comes up, the disciples come together, they pray about it, and they say, you know what, it is not right for us. We have been given the charge of teaching the body, of preaching to the city of Jerusalem in the region of Judea. Let's name others to take care of the daily distribution of food. And they named 7 men in whom they found the Holy Spirit and great wisdom. The interesting thing about these 7 men is they all have Hellenistic names. They all have Greek names. There's a principle here. The answer is found in those who brought the complaint. You deal with it then. Not just we wipe our hands of it, but we trust you. We trust the care of the Hebrew-speaking widows to you as well. Treat them well. And indeed, they did. Now, the solution, they recognized the validity of the complaint. They recognized the gifts that these men had. And they recognized that the people who brought the complaint needed to be involved in providing the solution. I love this. It could have been that they would have said, we'll try harder, but they didn't. They said, you know what? The ministry is meant to be shared. The ministry that God has given us is the ministry of the Word and the ministry of preaching. The ministry of these 7 was to deal with the logistic details of the daily distribution of food for the widows. So what happened as a result? We pick it up in verse 8. Stephen, who's the first one of the 7 men named, Stephen, a man full of God's grace and power, performed amazing miracles and signs among the people. And in verse 10, none of them could stand against the wisdom and the spirit with which Stephen spoke. Now, next week, we'll see how it is that Stephen is attacked by those from without. and is the first disciple to give his life for following Jesus. Today it's adequate to know Stephen did his gifts, used his gifts, did the ministry. He wasn't one of the disciples. He wasn't one of the pastors. He wasn't an apostle, but he was an effective minister in his community. We started with the question, aren't the pastors supposed to do the ministry? Actually, no. They are not. In the book of Ephesians, Paul names 5 leaders in the church: apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. And he said their purpose is to prepare the saints, the members of the church, for the work of the ministry. The pastor is here to make sure you learn how to do the ministry. Be about doing the ministry. Like, follow, and subscribe to this devotional on whatever platform you use to listen to it. Email your questions to us at questions@becomehope.com. Enjoy this Sunday in the church of your choice.